All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining here today. I'm really, really excited to be delving into this with you. I did a little tester just before we started recording where I made sure that all my cards were facing the right way, so I didn't have to redraw the symbols facing the right way, because I'm going to be showing you a couple of things to look at. And it looks like we are good, so let me know if there is any confusion, or for those of you who are tuning in on the phone, I'll be describing to you as well. And so just an invitation today, in case you missed any of our previous Lightworker Academy classes. We had a class in January on the Three Essentials of Alchemy for Lightworkers, and then our class in February was on the medicine wheel. So this is a class series, and each class is its own independent teaching, and yet they're all related and they all support each other. So in case you missed it, I invite you to go ahead and tune into the previous classes in the series. And since you're here, you're already on the list to receive invitations every month when I open up registration for the classes. Lightworker Academy is based in an in-depth healership training, which I developed last year, and we'll be inviting people to experience. I've taught pieces of all of this independently in different ways, and I'll be inviting people into a 4-day in-depth healership training in October. So since you've been tuning into the live classes, you will be among the first to know when I actually launch that and invite people into it. But you're also getting a taste right now. So everything that we're doing in Lightworker Academy classes is based in this curriculum that I'll be teaching in October, that again is an in-person, in-depth 4-day intensive healership training. So keep that in mind and know that, again, these are related and yet independent teachings within this larger body of knowledge. So going back to tune in to, for those of you who did tune in for the Three Essentials of Alchemy for Lightworkers, remember we started with the salt principle. We have worked with mercury and we worked with sulfur. If you don't know what that means, that's okay. But for those of you who did tune in, remember we're still working within the salt principle, so the neutral physical principle. And last month we revisited the medicine wheel, and today we're living in the body. We're practicing in the body. So thank you so much for joining. I'm really, really excited to delve into this with you. We are going to be working with the cosmic keys of the universe. And before we do that, I invite us, we're going to just drop in and do a little meditation to get our energies on the same frequency. And then we'll do a teaching with this. I'll give you some tools, and we're going to do a practice so that we can actually, again, it's impossible to teach a class on embodiment without actually doing some movement practice. So we're going to be doing that together at the end of our time today. So I invite you for now to just go ahead and set everything down. If you've got a notebook or pen, just go ahead and set it aside. And I invite you to allow yourself to come to a space of stillness. And taking a moment to simply close your eyes and notice what you notice within your body. Allowing yourself to fully arrive in the body with the breath. Exhaling everything out. Deep inhale. Exhale with a sigh. Deep inhale. Exhaling with a sigh. 2 more, just like that. Deep breath in, all the way to the belly. Exhaling with a sigh. Feeling the vibration of your sigh moving through your body. 1 more. Deep breath in. Using that audible sigh to vibrate your body into a space of deeper noticing, deeper presence. And in fact, let's do 1 more of those audible sighs. Go ahead and place a hand on your heart if you like. Exhale everything out. Deep breath in. An audible sigh. Noticing that feeling vibrating through your chest, through your hand, on your heart space. And turning your attention toward the heart. Without trying to change or fix anything, merely notice what you notice within your heart sphere. That's two words, heart sphere, not your heart's fear, but within your heart space. What do you notice? Allow yourself to simply attune for a moment to the internal beat of your heart. If you like, leaving a hand on your chest. Knowing that we're not trying to change or fix anything, but simply paying attention. And let's offer a deep internal bow of gratitude to ourselves for taking space and time for this practice today. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Knowing that we're going to return here later. This is a reference point, awareness for us. And we invite this awareness to stay with us in our consciousness the rest of our time together. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And as you carry this awareness back into your conscious mind, arriving back in your awareness, rolling the shoulders, wiggling the fingers and toes. And when you're ready, opening your eyes and coming back to our moment that is now. Go ahead and make any notes that you like in your journal. And I'll go ahead and take really quickly 1 or 2 shares if there's anything that you noticed from that awareness practice. Go ahead and unmute yourself and share, or type into the chat box. How'd it feel? Good, balancing, opening, constricting? What did we notice?
Calmness.
Calmness. Beautiful. Thank you. Okay. What else do we notice? Anything? Do we notice anything at all in our hearts? Do we get a reference point at least? Go ahead and just type in like, yes, reference noted. Okay. And as we go ahead and continue here today, again, we're just keeping that in our back of mind awareness so that we can return to that as a point. I'm going to go ahead and mute you. There we go. Awesome. Thanks for tuning in, Ralph. I just put you on mute for the call quality, but go ahead and unmute yourself if you have a question or want to share later. Okay, beautiful. Well, let's go ahead and keep going. Thank you for going into that with me, and know that we are going to do more practice together. And I highly, highly encourage you to share what you're noticing, again, because it is really supportive for other people too. And know that we're all in this together, we're all doing this together, and we are going to be moving. You don't have to be on camera moving. I'm going to be on camera moving, but know that we're all going to be doing these practices together, and it's really supportive when we show up and contribute to the group experience. So let's go ahead and I'm going to take you through a little bit of an idea of what we're going to delve into today. I referenced earlier that we're talking about the cosmic keys of the universe. And specifically, this is an embodiment component of practice. And so we have we're going to be looking at physical and non-physical energy and what that means to work with both. And as healers, as light workers, as humans in the world, we're working both with physical and non-physical energy. And we'll look at why embodiment practice is absolutely essential. Like, why is an embodiment work absolutely essential to your practice, whether or not you're a practicing healer, and what this can contribute to your life and to your work. We'll talk about the cosmic keys in terms of what they are. I know this is probably a new idea for many of you, and yet once we get into it, I guarantee you'll have some reference points to connect the dots with some other areas in your life. And I will take you through the energy signatures of these 5 cosmic keys and the functions that we're working with these. We'll do some practice together and return to that reference point that we created earlier. And at the very end of our time today, in the last few minutes of our conversation, I do have an invitation for you. So I invite you to stick around for that. Just to put on your radar before we jump in, the next class, the next Lightworker Academy class, is on Tuesday, April 16th, same time, 11 o'clock Pacific time or 11 a.m. Pacific time, and we'll be looking at wisdom of the body, so cultivating corporeal intelligence, again, sticking within that salt realm. And so as we move through this, we'll be moving through the salt, the mercury, and the sulfur in the different realms. So we're staying in the body for next month too. And so for right now, let's look at physical and non-physical energy, and what are they, how do we relate to them, and how do they show up? As healers, as practitioners, as light workers, whether or not you have an existing healing practice or whether it's in your own personal practice, we're working with both physical and non-physical energy. Non-physical energy takes the form of working with guides and teachers, working in the soul realms, working in the karma, working with past lives, working in the etheric field, or working in the auric field of ourselves or of other people. It's working with intuition. It's working with our psychic practice. It's anything that hasn't yet landed in the body or hasn't translated to a physical container. And then working with physical energy is energy that has come into a physical form, either through movement in the body or through translation into a physical sphere. Now, this would be, imagine going to receive a healing session and you're working with a healer who is offering you healing energy and you feel sensations moving. That's etheric energy that is translating into embodied energy, because it's moving in your body and you feel a sensation with it. Another example of this is, whether you're going to receive a healing session or whether you yourself are having a meditative practice and you're inviting in your ancestors and guides and teachers to join you, and you notice an infusion of energy in your physical body, or you notice sensation or tingling or awarenesses within your felt sense. That's etheric energy translating into embodied energy. Now, I'm using this word translate a lot because I think it's really important, and I think it's a great way to look at this, that part of what we're doing in our healership practice or in our lightworker practice, or just in the realm of being human, is we're translating, we're taking the intangible, etheric, non-embodied energy and putting it into an actionable earthly container. Now, I'm saying actionable because that's one of the big differences between etheric and embodied energy, is etheric energy doesn't live in the earth plane. It's non-actionable from our human forms or in the earth realm. And in order to make it actionable, we need to ground it in and translate it into embodied energy. So imagine it's like, and to run with this translation metaphor, imagine you're working with a set of instructions that are in a language you don't understand, and it's really valuable information and you need that information, and yet unless it is in a form that you can understand, it's completely useless to you. So the etheric energy is the same way, where it's useless to us in our physical forms, in our human bodies, until we ground it in and until we bring it into the realm of the earth plane. This is where, again, going to receive a healing session. Many healers work in a realm of hands-on healing. So they actually physically touch you, whether it's massage or body work or energy healing or shamanic healing. There's physical contact often, not always. It is possible to translate embodied energy or etheric energy into embodied energy without the physical contact, because the practitioner is bringing divine energy into their own body. So that's where the translation is taking place in a couple of realms. On one hand, the healer or whoever is doing the work, your massage therapist, your acupuncturist, your practitioner, your astrologer, is taking etheric energy in the form of intuition, in the form of divine healing energy, in the form of working with the soul codes or any intuitive downloads or information, and running it through the filter of their own system in order to offer it to you. Whether that's through their hands, by placing their hands on you, then they're running this energy through their body. It's already coming to you as embodied energy, so you don't have to do that translation process. There is some energy and skill involved in translating non-physical energy into physical energy, or etheric energy into embodied energy, which is why whenever and actually just like go ahead and chat in or type into the chat box. Did anyone have a really dramatic spiritual awakening? Like I feel like you got smacked over the head with something that you didn't understand? If so, just go ahead and be like, thumbs up me. And this is one of the characteristics of what it's like to have that really dramatic initiation into etheric energy entering the physical plane in a noticeable way. So this idea of, if we're not used to it, or if we don't have a strong practice in it, it can shock our systems to receive downloads of pure divine energy when our bodies and our physical containers are not prepared for it. I don't see anybody chatting in. Did nobody have a really dramatic spiritual awakening? That is surprising, but awesome. Good for you guys. That's great. And I mean, good, no better or worse either way, but just, it's not super comfortable, right? To have a really dramatic awakening. So, and I've seen this from both sides. So great. Okay. Yeah.
It's Janae. And
Hey.
I will say that I've had several of these kinds of things.
Yeah.
The first major time was with energy in my body, and that I went through 3 of those in about a 4 week, well, within a month period.
Yeah, thanks.
And then other things too. Yeah.
Not super comfortable, right? Like pretty dramatic and pretty shocking to the system.
It was very dramatic. It was a total surprise. It actually, though, I looked at it as healing energy or connecting. Yeah. And so it didn't. And I happened to be among people or a teacher who understood what was happening. So I was able to be coached through it.
Totally. And it is healing energy. Yeah. Thank you for sharing, Janae. It is healing energy. It is divine energy. It's all good stuff. It's just, and if we know what we're up against, or not up against, we're not fighting it, but if we know what we're dealing with, or if we have people or tools or practices to support us, it can be we can have more context for it. But many of the people who find me, or many of the people who I talk to, either didn't have anybody or didn't know what was happening, and it just felt like a very disorienting experience where all of a sudden I'm questioning my reality, like things are happening in my body, I feel really weird, I have like all this heat in my body, like and hearing people describe a Kundalini awakening is much the same thing, where it's this act of all of a sudden big infusion of etheric energy into an embodied container that isn't ready for it. So this is where, again, it's having a healer working with somebody who is doing that translation process and offering you embodied energy is a much more gentle, nurturing experience to receive healing work that has already been through that translation process. Does that make sense? I realize we're getting a little bit into some more theoretical advanced healing principles here. So go ahead and just like type in if you have any questions about that, and know that that's the background behind what we're working with today. I'm going to go ahead and keep going, and then we will pause. We will pause here shortly to kind of circle back and see if there's anything up with that, unless you just go ahead and type into the box and I'll answer in a second. So this translation process, this idea of bringing divine energy into embodied energy is what we're working with today. And having an embodiment practice is really, really essential, because what it does a couple of things. Number one is it elevates the frequency of our physical container, meaning our bodies, our homes, our everything about our physical reality, but starting with the body, starting with the self. Where imagine if we have some really dense, sluggish, heavy energy, any infusion of divine energy is going to be even more shocking to the system. Whereas if we already have a clear container, if we have a lot of space in our physical bodies, meaning energetic space, meaning our channels are clear, then an infusion of energy isn't going to shock our system so much. It's actually going to assimilate much more easily and gracefully. So physical practice and embodiment practice, particularly with moving energy in the ways that we're going to talk about later, elevates the vibration of our physical container and makes it easier for us to work with high vibration etheric energies without blowing out our system. So it raises our physical vibration, and it also increases our capacity to work with high vibration energy. So it kind of accomplishes the same thing from a couple of different angles. Where imagine the more space you have, the more energy you can hold. And the higher your personal vibration, the higher vibration that you're going to bring into your physical container. And this is part of what we're doing whenever we have a meditative practice, or whenever we're doing yoga, or we're receiving a healing session, whatever it is, we're inviting in high vibration frequencies. We're inviting in healing frequencies. We're inviting in intuition. We're inviting in etheric energy. And if we're in a place where we can actually receive it, it's going to integrate that much more smoothly. Then it becomes much more effective when we put it out into the world. So again, this particular piece of advice we're looking at through the lens of healership, right? So if you're a practicing healer, or you're a body worker, or holding space for people in any way, the more embodied you are and the more space you have to hold energy, the more effective you're going to be as a healer, and the more effectively you're going to be able to hold space or hold healing capacity for other people. And that's just a simple, if we have this much room in our energy field and we can hold this much energy, that's not a whole lot. But if we have this much, or even, this much space and energy, we're going to be able to facilitate much deeper, richer, more transformational experiences for other people in their own healing and in their own process. So I hope that makes sense. This idea of we're doing our embodiment practice not only for us, but in order to have more capacity in the work that we're doing in the world. And embodiment work accomplishes a few different things. It clears out other people's energy from the physical body. It clears out old stagnant energy. It clears out hidden trapped emotions from the physical body. It creates space and clears the channels. It gets the hemispheres talking to each other. It just brings in more energy and creates more opportunity for connection and sensitivity, empathy, communication, and healthy boundaries. And so when we're having a really solid physical container, all of that becomes more possible. Let's go ahead and take a little pause. I know I threw a lot at you right there. Hopefully that all made sense. Go ahead and let me know if you have any questions or comments, any epiphanies. What is this sparking for you? We'll go ahead and take one or two questions or shares. Who here has a really strong embodiment practice that helps them feel this way? And what do you do? I'm curious. I know my embodiment practice goes through different phases. Sometimes I go through running phases. Sometimes I go through Qigong phases, partially weather dependent, partially personal energy and what's going on. But having some, or even breath practice is an embodiment practice, right? Because we're bringing energy into the body. People do yoga. Go ahead and chat in the chat box. What's your favorite embodiment practice? Okay, somebody just chatted in their favorite Qigong form, the immortal form in Qigong, White Tiger Qigong. That's cool. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Beautiful. All right, well, let's go ahead and you can still chat in. You can use the chat box at either group or anonymously and just let me know whatever is coming up as we continue to go through. Here we'll be moving into the cosmic keys in general. So the cosmic keys, which I know, again, I'm willing to bet you have some familiarity with this in either by another name or in another form. And as I describe them, I guarantee you're going to recognize like, oh yeah, I know what that is, right? And now you're going to have a different layer of understanding for it. So the cosmic keys of the universe are patterns of energy movement found ubiquitously in nature. These are symbols and they're patterns. Again, think of it like a pattern of energy movement that we already know exists, that we already see in the world around us. It exists within our own bodies. It exists within the plant realm, the mineral realm, all of these realms. And they are keys for the translation of etheric into embodied energy. Think about them like the lived experience of divine energy. If divine energy had a body, it would be through these keys that it comes into embodied form. So when we're working with the cosmic keys, we're working with them on a couple of different levels. Like number one, we know that they're a pattern of energy movement. So looking at it in the abstract, we're working on it in the second way through inviting that pattern of energy movement into our own bodies, which is what we'll be doing at the end of our practice. And I think this is of tertiary importance, but I'll share it with you. We do work with them as symbols too, and know that graphically, like if you were to draw a symbol, it's a representation of that movement of energy. But I really, really do recommend that you think of these less as symbols that you draw and more as patterns that you move or patterns that you invite into your physical sphere, whether it's moving it with your hand, whether it's moving it with your body, like we're going to be doing here shortly. But thinking of it within the two-dimensional realm isn't really using it to its fullest extent. But I will be showing you visual representations of these energies so that you can make note in your journal and you can have that just kind of in the back of your mind as a way to access this pattern of energy movement. So the first cosmic key, we're going to work with 5 today, the first 5 cosmic keys of the universe. The first one is the spiral. There we go. And it is a particular direction. I hope you can see that. So we're working with the spiral specifically in this direction because the spiral can be either opening or closing. And so think about when the spiral we relate to through through the golden ratio. We have the nautilus, the Fibonacci sequence. There's so many examples, like seeing the little baby fern heads or seeing within our own bodies, the relationship of that spiral form. The spiral is the first cosmic key because it's the gateway to life. And because the spiral is the first shape, the first form from which all other forms are based. And so when we work with a spiral, we're working with this gateway to life, which is not only life, but it's also death and that creation cycle, right? It's like the coming into form, but also coming out of form. So when we're working with this, we're drawing it in this particular way. I can hold it up again if you need me to, but imagine the opening and releasing. If you were to start at a center point and move to the left, so going kind of counterclockwise, moving to the left in a slowly increasing size of your spiral. So that's the opening, is going like this. And then the closing is starting from that outward point and moving in a large spiral that gets smaller and smaller as you go to the right toward the center. So again, the spiral, we're working with it in both directions, but it ends up looking like this form. So imagine if you put your pen on the piece of paper and you start moving it to the spiral to the left in an increasing size, and then you trace that back spiral to the right in a decreasing size, that's your movement of energy, this pattern of energy. So spiral opening to the left and spiral closing to the right. Now, the two functions that we're working with here are opening and releasing, letting go, getting rid of energy, like unscrewing the jar, like we're getting ready to let stuff out, okay? And then spiraling to the right is bringing in and manifestation. So we have some affirmations to go with this too. And our affirmations with the opening are, I am opening, I am following, I am letting go. So when we think about that, spiraling to the left, I am opening, I am following the spiral path. I'm following. I am letting go. I am releasing everything that doesn't belong. And then when we are complete with that, we spiral back to the right. And we come inward toward that center point and then come to stillness. And as we're spiraling to the right, spiraling closed, we are affirming, I am receiving. I am manifesting. I am inviting. So what are you bringing in as you spiral back to that center point? What are you receiving? What are you manifesting? I am receiving, I am manifesting, I am inviting. And we're going to go ahead and go through all of these and then pause for questions at the end. But if you have anything that comes up in the meantime, go ahead and chat it in. Number 2, our second cosmic key of the universe that we're working with is the crescent, which is pretty much exactly as you would imagine. Crescent. There you go. So think of it like a crescent moon, and you can even imagine, if it's helpful for you, imagine a star here, which of course wouldn't actually happen in the moon or like looking at the moon, but having that star point is almost like having the point around which a pendulum swings, right? Like if you're holding a pendulum here and it's going back and forth and back and forth, that's the pattern of energy movement that we're looking at here in the crescent. So here we're introducing, if the spiral is oneness, or the spiral is that original point, then the crescent becomes more than oneness. It becomes the first step into duality. And so here we have this, kind of this back and forth movement. And what this is introducing in the pattern of energy movement is the idea of polarity. It's introducing choice, choosing. It's introducing connection, right? Like connecting between these 2 points, connecting between different parts of ourselves, connecting the hemispheres of the body, connecting the inner feminine and masculine, the inner yin and yang, connecting different meridians through the body, moving across the center point. So the crescent is this exploration into sovereignty and agency. I like to think of it that way, moving our bodies like a pendulum to feel, okay, what is the full spectrum of this experience, right? And where in this experience am I choosing? Am I taking agency to be a sovereign being in my process? So the crescent we use to move energy along a spectrum and to explore the spectrum of polarity. And the affirmations that we use with the crescent are, I am choosing, I am centering, I am listening. I am choosing, I am centering, and I am listening. Meaning, here I am taking information. I'm moving along the entire spectrum of an experience. I'm uniting the hemispheres of my body, and I'm listening. I'm paying attention to learn from this polarity. Okay, let's continue to the third one. Our third cosmic key of the universe is infinity. I told you you'd recognize some of these. The last 2 you may not. But here we have infinity that we're working with, which now, looking at our trajectory, we begin with a spiral, right? The shape from which all the other shapes are born, this impetus of energy and creation. And then the duality, right? The choice and the choosing. And now with infinity, we're working with balance and flow. Synchronicity is one of the keys of infinity, synchronicity, alignment, integration, and harmonization. When we're working with infinity, it's like coming into balance. Okay, we've released energy, we've brought in energy, we've explored the whole spectrum, and now we're going into this integration mode. We're going into infinity in order to assimilate and synchronize and come into harmonic relationship with these frequencies. So moving in this infinity pattern, again, is it's balancing the hemispheres. In the crescent, we were exploring the hemispheres and exploring the spectrum, and then infinity, we're bringing them into communication with each other, and we're moving energy. I keep going like this, by the way, because here's an example of infinity, and here's one way in which energy moves in the body through the central column, is this infinite pattern. So knowing, again, infinity shows up in our bodies, it shows up in nature, it shows up everywhere. And affirmations that we include when working with this pattern of energy are: I am balancing, I am synchronizing, I am integrating. Okay, cosmic key number 4 is the Maya. And please keep in mind that these last two in particular, the movement that we're going to do with them doesn't really look much like the symbol, but the symbol is a useful way of making note of it. So here we have cosmic key number 4, which is the Maya. And Maya is the divine potential. It's the that magic and transformation, kind of the space between where anything is possible. And the example that is really helpful to think about here is caterpillar mush. So, you know, when caterpillars go into the chrysalis to turn into butterflies, they pretty much liquefy. Like, they don't necessarily like go in, like, how do they get into butterfly shape, right? Like, it seems sort of impossible. But essentially what they do is they turn into this mush stage where there isn't really definition in a way that we would think so much. And it's this space of infinite potential of what is possible when we surrender. Surrender is one of the keys of the Maya. Surrender and kind of let ourselves be in that space of infinite potential and mush. So this is again, kind of that maybe comfortable, maybe not, like the caterpillar going into the chrysalis, like who knows how they feel about it. They're probably feeling okay, but it's this aspect of surrender into what is possible when I move into the space of my own divine potential and my own infinite possibility. So and one other association that will make more sense when we incorporate it with our practice is the cleansing waters. So when we work with the Maya, we're working with like waterfall energy, very sweet cleansing water to move through the system and to flow in the system. And affirmations that we're working with in the Maya are: I am unfolding, I am allowing, I am flexible. I am unfolding, I am allowing, I am flexible. Can anybody think of needing more of any of these in their lives? Yeah. Do we already see possibilities for implementing the cosmic keys and bringing in the cosmic keys? You will by the end, hopefully. I guarantee it. So our final cosmic key, the 5th cosmic key that we're working with today, is Ka. Now this is a, think of it kind of like lightning, right? So this symbol looks sort of lightning-ish, Ka, K-A. And here we are working with this principle that's really activating. So Ka is the 5th cosmic key, and yet when I teach this as an embodiment practice, we usually start with Ka, and you'll see why. Because it's, think of the cellular vibration, the vibration of our cellular wisdom and our bodies and the earth, it's all vibrating, right? So Ka is like that. It's this vibrating, shaking. When we're moving Ka through our body, we're physically shaking our bodies. And it's that Kundalini energy. It's the idea of shaking or releasing and activation. So think like when an animal shakes after, you know, a horse runs away from a lion and then they just stand there and shake for a minute and then they're fine. It's releasing the trauma from their bodies and also reactivating their cellular wisdom, right? Or like your dog gets really scared by thunder and then they're shaking and then they're fine, right? So this idea of it's innate in us to shake, to move, and yet look at, you know, we think this is a bad thing, right? Like how many times have you seen a kiddo who's shaking and then the parents are like, well, why are you shaking? It's okay. Or like, hold still. Or, you know, we shake when we're cold, right? We're trying to activate our cellular vibration. So the Ka works in activation, initiation. It's our inner fires of destruction and creation. So again, that releasing energy by the shaking, releasing, but then also igniting the possibility of creation that comes from that vibrational frequency. And so our affirmations here are speak to those in a couple of different ways. We have I am activating, I am love and or light, and I am one. So this aspect of the I am activating, but also I am one, meaning by participating in this vibratory frequency, I'm aligning with the vibration of all beings. I am one. So we're going to go ahead and pause if there are any questions, comments. I threw a lot at you, but please go ahead and circle back either if you need anything repeated, if you want me to hold up a card, any thoughts, epiphanies, and then we're going to jump into practice. How's this feeling? Does this make sense? Is it fun? Connecting dots between this or any other practice, other teachings? As we sit with the energies of the cosmic keys, is there any one in particular that jumps out to you that feels potentially like it could be really important for you? Somebody just chatted in. Okay. Explain the Ka activation. Okay. Can you ask specifically what are you curious about? The principle of activation or the way that Ka works within the realm of activation? Latter part of your explanation on Ka activation. Okay, let's see if I can answer that question for you. Thanks for asking. Okay, so the idea of vibration, and this I'm going to give this as a more brief explanation since there's a lot of other material out there about how our cells vibrate and how the earth vibrates. But everything that is living is vibrating on some level, on some measurable level, right? Like, you know, looking at the principles of sound or looking at the vibration of earth is Om, right? It's actually vibration. It's a physical movement that is measurable in some way. So they can actually take electrodes or they can take, you know, whatever it is and measure the vibration of our bodies, measure the vibration of our cells, etc. And so stillness is, even though if we're sitting physically very still, our whole bodies are already vibrating. Like stillness is an illusion, and stillness is quite frankly the opposite of life. Life is vibrating. Life is always in this vibration sphere, right? So when we're moving Ka through our body, we're amplifying a pattern of energy that is already taking place within our bodies. Our bodies are already vibrating. And if we're sitting really still, they're still vibrating. We're just not participating with it in a conscious way. So when we bring in Ka, we're activating, we're on purpose moving our bodies in a way that amplifies and expands and continues the pattern of energy that's already there, which invites in more activation. It invites in more potential. It invites in more possibility for creation. Let's see, you mentioned it with creativity. I don't remember mentioning it with creativity. I might have said with creation in terms of energetic creation. Can you speak a little more to what your question is specifically? And also anybody else, are there any other questions? Go ahead and either unmute yourself or chat it in while we're wrapping this up. Somebody's chatting in. I feel like the Maya is really important for me in my process right now. The idea of unfolding is particularly powerful. Okay, yeah, unfolding is particularly powerful. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. I totally hear you. The Maya is one of those again, it moves that vibration through us in a really subtle way. And the caterpillar mush is inherently like an unfolding, like how much can we surrender and trust in this process that we don't understand? Okay, so Ralph, did I answer your question? Go ahead and just give me a thumbs up when that feels okay. And if I didn't, then yes, I did. Okay, great, awesome. Thank you so much. Beautiful. Well, we're going to move into some practice space here. Again, if you have any other questions, go ahead and chat them in, or any other thoughts, chat in the chat box. For now, let's go ahead and stand up. And I want to make sure, again, since I haven't done a class on in this way before, can you hear me if I'm all the way back here? Somebody go ahead and type in or let me know. Yes, you can hear me. Awesome, thank you. I can't really see the chat from all the way back here, but go ahead and here, and I'm gonna make, let's see. Oops, how did that happen? Beautiful, okay. Okay, so go ahead and invite yourself to find a space, a stance that feels really comfortable. So invitation here to be in what is called warrior stance, which is different from warrior pose in yoga. But inviting ourselves to find a space where all four corners of our feet are grounded into the floor, where our weight is not in the front, not like we're kind of leaning forward, but not like we're leaning back either. Our weight is really nice and centered in our stance. And noticing any micro postural adjustments that need to happen in order for your shoulders to be nice and down away from the ears. Tucking the chin very slightly to create length in the back of the neck, and feeling almost as though there's a string pulling up from the top of your head. So creating a lot of length in the spine. And length in the spine creates space for energy to flow. Space moves, or energy moves between the space, or in the space between the bones. So by creating more space in our body, we're creating more room for energy to move through the body. So we're going to start with Ka. We're going to start with, once again, tuning into that heart space, inviting yourself to take a moment just of simple awareness with what's happening in your heart right now, in your heart energy field. And this is primarily where we're going to focus our attention for today, is on moving heart energy specifically. So inviting in Ka, physically shaking your heart, inviting in that activation energy into your heart. Feels a little bit like a shimmy, 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 but that's what we're going for. That's okay. And inviting yourself to move that shaking energy into your heart. You can even take your fingers and tap on your heart space in order to create more shaking feeling, to create vibration. You can just rub your heart space. Again, creating that Ka, that lightning feeling in your heart. Affirming, I am activating. I am activating. I am activating my heart now. Using your breath, perhaps an audible sigh, remembering that when we sigh, we create vibration, just like we do with Ka. Feeling it vibrate through your chest, vibrating with the voice, with the tapping, shaking your heart, and then coming to stillness. Take a moment to simply notice what has shifted. And we're going to continue with a spiral. So from this heart space, again, we're starting in the center point, and we're going to start to make a really small spiral to the left. So at first it's almost imperceptible, like this little tiny, tiny movement to the left, like a counterclockwise spiral. Opening, with the intention of opening. And slowly getting bigger, slowly moving in a bigger spiral with the heart to the left, and inviting in the affirmation, I am opening. I am releasing. I am following. I am letting go. Spiral bigger and bigger with the heart to the left. Breathing out, feeling anything that is being released from the heart flowing down your body, down your legs, down your feet, and into the floor where it's surrendered to the earth. And you can also breathe it out. Ha, knowing ha is the tone of the heart. So if there's anything that your heart wants to release, ha. And eventually coming to a point of stillness, not in the center, but wherever you happen to pause in the spiral. And now we're going to bring in, so big, big spiral to the right, inviting in energy. Spiral to the right with your heart. I am receiving. I am manifesting. And as you continue to spiral to the right, your spiral very slowly starts to get a little smaller. I am inviting. As you move this energy through your heart, feeling what energy is pouring into your heart right now because you're creating space for it and because you're inviting it in. I am receiving. With your breath, breathing into your heart, feeling an infusion of energy there. And slowly making your spiral smaller and smaller and coming eventually to a little tiny, tiny, tiny spiral to the right, right in the center, almost imperceptible movement. And then finding that still point at the center. Taking a moment to notice this infusion of new energy that you invited in. Now inviting your heart to come into that crescent shape. It's a little bit like just rocking side to side. We've got a little bit of a, like, imagine using your body as a pendulum. Kind of going up on the sides. You can let a heel come off the floor as you go side to side, exploring that spectrum, exploring this new energy that has come into your heart. I am choosing. I am choosing. We always have a choice, people. We always have the option to be at choice. And Crescent helps us remember that. Crescent helps us remember that I have agency to choose. I am a sovereign being. I am centering. Also, noticing as your body crosses the midline, your hemispheres, maybe noticing, or your hands kind of going back and forth across, right? This is part of the crescent, right? Part of how we're creating flow. And you can also just get as much into this as you like. Maybe there's an arm movement that wants to go with the crescent. I am choosing. I am centering. Feeling that heart move through the entire spectrum of energy that was brought into the heart field. And then slowly coming back to center. And pausing at that center point. Taking a moment to simply notice what changes have taken place within your heart. And now moving into infinity. So beginning to move that heart space in the pattern of infinity, sort of going forward and back like you're drawing that sideways 8 with your heart space. I am balancing. I am integrating. This is where we invite all that energy to settle into our field and to come into a really nice, balanced, integrated, supported, harmonized place. I am synchronizing, right? How are we synchronizing our vibration to a frequency that is really healthy and vital? How are we using this to support our bodies, support our physical containers, to be more synchronized, be more harmonious, be more integrated, and be more inviting to hold and more capable to hold powerful energy? Moving the heart. I am balanced. I'm balancing. And gently coming back to that center point, that still point. Notice what you notice. And finally, we're going to invite in the Maya. I told you that the Maya doesn't necessarily look like the symbol that I showed you, but our movement is this. So imagine that we're standing in this beautiful, maybe we've got a waterfall at our backs, like this beautiful, epic, amazing, tropical, juicy waterfall, this nourishing, healing, cleansing water. And so we're going to exhale down. I'm describing this to you before I do it because you won't see me at the bottom part, but exhale down till our hands are as low as we want to go. If right here is where you're comfortable, kind of in front of your hips, great. If you want to go all the way to the floor, exhale down and inhale energy up through the central channel and exhale down the outsides of the body. Okay, so inhale up through the central channel all the way up to the top, and exhale down the outsides, creating that flow of the healing waters, pulling up beautiful healing waters through your central channel and feeling them cascade down the outsides of your energy field. This is the activating the toroidal field. Go in, up through the central channel, inviting in that state of divine potential. Water can be any shape. Any container that water is put in, water takes the shape of that container. So what container do you want to create for yourself that then you have the opportunity, the infinite potential to occupy any space? And if you want to go all the way to the floor, exhaling all the way down to the floor, inhaling up from the floor. Reach, 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 and exhale all the way down. Let's do two more. All the way to the floor, inhale up. Last one, wherever you're at, inhale up. And returning back to center and pausing in stillness. Noticing what you notice within your heart space. Knowing that we moved a lot of energy, what do you feel? And let's go ahead and place our hands on our hearts, intending that this healing energy, this infusion of energy, continue to flow as long as it is needed. And let us completely seal in this healing energy with light and love of the highest vibration and intend that it integrate gently for the highest and greatest good. Thank you, thank you, thank you for the blessings. We're so happy and grateful to do this work today. Offering yourself a deep bow of gratitude for taking this space and time for this practice. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And let's come back to center, come back to our meeting space here. Go ahead and make any notes you like. We are running just a couple of minutes over. I had a feeling we might, because adding in embodiment practice just takes time. How did that go for everybody? Go ahead and either unmute yourself or chat in the chat box. What did you notice? What did that do for you? Do you have a favorite cosmic key based on what that did for your vibration? We'll go ahead and take just one or two real quick shares before we close today, because I want to honor our time.
Michelle?
Yeah, Janae, how'd it go for you?
It's wonderful. And as I had intended, hoped for, it has prepared me for the practicum this afternoon.
Fantastic. I'm so happy to hear that.
Perfect.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else want to share how it landed for them? What did you notice? Was it fun? Opening and relaxing. Awesome. Thank you, Ralph. What did you notice? Anybody want to share? What did you notice in your heart space, specifically since we were working on the heart realm with the moving the different patterns of energy through the heart? What did you feel at the beginning, at the end? How did it influence your heart field? Somebody says heart field is more grounded and calm, more strong center point. Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. I appreciate that. Last share before we close. What you got? How'd it go? No? Okay, I think people are writing in their journals. All right, well, in that case, let's go ahead and we'll wrap together, knowing that this is applicable for you to apply in your own practice, whether you do this in a movement practice with all of them like we did today, whether you choose to practice just one or maybe a few that feel really supportive to you, moving them through different parts of your body, different energy centers, knowing that these patterns of energy exist everywhere in the world, and that they're really supportive for helping us to create a strong foundation container with which we can invite in more energy into our bodies and into our fields. So thank you so much for joining me here today. I'm really happy and excited that we get to take this time together. Again, next month in April, our Lightworker Academy class is on April 16th, which is a Tuesday. All these classes are on Tuesdays, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Pacific time. So you're already on the list to receive your registration. Go ahead and just grab your spot as soon as it opens up. And we'll be talking about wisdom of the body. So we're going to stay in the body realm for next month. And I do have an invitation for you, knowing that these teachings, again, exist within a larger body of knowledge that are present not only in this healership training, but also present in the year-long alchemy course that I offer. So Janae is one of my alchemy students. The practicum that she was mentioning is her practicum class that she's teaching today as part of her certification. And knowing that some of the teachings that exist within this are also a component of this larger body of knowledge. So if you enjoyed today, if you got a lot out of today, I would like to invite you to consider stepping into or consider applying for I Am Alchemy. It is a year-long intensive training. It's a certification course specifically for practitioners who want to master their craft by mastering themselves. So everything that we're learning within this course is applicable not only in the internal realm, but then translatable to the external in order to help you be a more effective healer, a more effective practitioner, and a more effective change maker in the world. So if that is something that you're interested in, I would love to have you apply. And as my special invitation to you, please be aware I am taking applications through Friday. So you have 4 days left to submit your application. Since you're here live, since you're tuning into this, I would like to offer you something. If you submit your application by the end of today, I will gift you $500 off your deposit. So there's no money due when you apply. It's not an obligation. It's a, hey, I'm interested and let's see if this is a good fit. So that's all you have to do. There's no money asked when you apply. It's simply, I want to see if this is an option and see how this might fit in my practice. So submit your application by the end of the day. You and I will set up a time to talk. And if it's a great fit, I will gift you $500 off your deposit. So I'm going to put that link into our Oh no, I didn't have that open. I'm going to put that link into our chat box right now, so you can go ahead and just click on it when that feels, and then when you feel ready to apply, you'll have that link right there. So it'll be super easy. There you go. And then I will also send a follow-up email. You can expect an email from me later today that will have a link to the recording of our class today. It will have a link to register. You get first dibs to register for next month's Lightworker Academy class before I open it up to my list. And it will also have that same link again to I Am Alchemy. So when you are ready to submit your application, just go ahead and put it in by the end of the day. And then you and I will talk when we can put a time on the calendar. So thank you so much for joining today. I'm really, really excited that we get to do this together. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the embodiment part, so maybe I'll include that in some more classes, depending on what the material is asking of me, since I am here by the direction of what the curriculum is inviting me to share with you. So I'm really, really happy that we get to spend this time together. Let me know if there's anything else that comes up. You have my email address. You can just shoot me a message if there's any other questions or comments. And I hope to see you next month. I can't wait to read your application for I Am Alchemy. Many, many blessings, and talk to you later.